Hello, Peter.
Spider-Man No Way Home is finally out, and despite the insane levels of hype, man did it not disappoint. In the most packed cinema since Endgame, some moments made us laugh, some made us cry, others made us gasp in excitement, but we were on the edge of our seats the whole time. I would go so far to say it's a top 3 MCU film, and even though I love Tom Holland's previous outings as the web-slinger, this easily tops them both. This film is the epitome of the superhero genre, and is one of, if not the best, standalone superhero movies since 2008. Spoilers from here on out, so if you haven't yet seen the film, I urge you, either watch it or watch my plot summary video that should be coming out in the near future. Then come back and finish this. Before we get to the best scenes, I'll quickly cover the positives and negatives that stand out from this great film and form my opinion. The acting is truly exceptional all round. Everyone knows their role and brings style along with them. To the surprise of no one, Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus and Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin stand out with their emotional range and flair. The heavily spoiled yet still exhilarating collision of all three Peter Parkers managed to stay enjoyable while realizing it is Tom's film and making him the key centerpiece, and Toby and Andrew are just accompanying. This is how you do fan service. It helps the plot, engages the audience, but does not feel like it destroys the structure of the film. The reason this film works so well overall and avoids the convolution of Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi one, is that every character has had at least one entire film to develop for us to get to know them. Because of this, the film is able to bounce around and effortlessly introduce more characters while feeling smooth and seamless the whole time. This film is honestly truly exceptional. I had to seriously rack my brain to find a standout negative. The one I settled with was the use of Doctor Strange as more of a plot device, there to set things off, then be trapped, then to come back at the end and save the multiverse with a single spell. Even still, Benedict Cumberbatch's constant charm erodes the floor to the point I didn't even realise it on my first watch, and to be honest, it's not that serious. We kick off the list with one of the last scenes of the film. During the climactic final battle, the Spider-Men experience difficulty coexisting, but we are affirmed this is Tom's movie, as he utilises the fact he's the only one in a group as a member of the Avengers, and takes the leadership role. This is in character and a powerful move, which forms a great and just a feel-good scene that accumulates with all three Peters, making a synchronized swing into three of the villains in a fantastic shot. A fun detail is that Tom webs onto the other two and propels them up to the clash, an exciting addition worthy of a newfound leader. Also, I'm tacking onto this scene the moment when Electro starts to overpower Peter, just for Doc Ock to make a quadruple cross back to the side of the good after being healed by Peter and Norman previously. He is in full control of his mechanical arms as shown by the white, not red dot in the centre, and it's great to see one of Spider-Man's most infamous villains help the web-slinger during the final battle, proving that Otto Octavius is one of the finest heroes in the world, although Dr. Octopus may not be. Another great scene is when all three Peters are drafting cures in a lab. It was fan service at its finest, but a fun, intriguing moment that saw all three of them meld in realistic ways, and the swapping stories was heartwarming. Memorable moments include Tom and Andrew being shocked that Toby's webs come out of his wrist because they have to build their web shooters, and all three Spideys responding to the call of Peter, doing the iconic Spider-Man meme by pointing at each other. Furthermore, one of the funniest sequences in the entire movie is Toby and Andrew telling Ned their best friends died trying to kill them, just for Ned to turn around to Tom and promise he'll never become a homicidal supervillain. On top of that, we get a great insight as both Toby and Andrew already know how to cure their villains, giving depth to them as we realise how long they've been planning and reliving their battles within their head. These are not just encounters for our viewing, these permanently affect these men. Toby convincing Tom they have to cure Norman is also so in character, coming from the grizzled veteran who never got to save the Goblin, passing along his knowledge and ensuring Tom doesn't make the same mistake he did. Just to clarify, these are, in my opinion, the best scenes of the film in a loose order from very, very good to the best. They are pretty much interchangeable with the scenes directly around them, So for example, the best scene, which I'm going to come on to obviously at the end of the video, I am very sure is better than the first scene I spoke about. However, the making cure scene I just talked about, I'm not 100% sure, I'm not even 50% sure it's better than the scene I'm about to talk about, which is the Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man fight. They're kind of on a level playing ground almost for me, and therefore I've spoken about them next to each other. Just because I've spoken about this scene after does not mean it is definitively better. It just means that they're pretty similar. Anyway, the next scene, as I've just said, is the Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man fight. It occurs after Peter realises sending the supervillains back to the dimensions will result in their death, and having just spoken to Aunt May, he is not ethically prepared to do that. As such, he snatches the death device out of Doctor Strange's hands and darts. However, Doctor Strange immediately catches up with him, and the fight ensues. What is so great about the scene is we see the power of the Ex-Sorcerer Supreme as he continually and easily corners Peter. But we also get to see Peter battle against the odds and defeat magic by embracing his inner nerd. And there are classic moments like Spider-Man's soulless body still having Spidey sense and managing to avoid Doctor Strange's grasp, even though Peter is literally floating and watching him, showing how this is truly a non-conscious sense. Peter has no control over it, and it is a true superpower. But most importantly, we get to witness two heroes clash, neither wanting to lose, but there's no real desire to cause permanent harm. It's a fun, exciting battle with just the right amount of stakes, but also not worry that Doctor Strange is going to try and kill Peter with a crazy spell or anything like that. The visuals on this scene are unbelievable. If you think how good they were in Inception and how far Doctor Strange pushed those boundaries, it literally does that jump again. It's crazy. That chase scene with the train and going into the mirror dimension is one of the coolest visual and digital effects I've ever experienced. It is a fantastic sequence and puts the icing on the cake of this great scene. Moving up an echelon, we have the scene where MJ falls off the scaffolding surrounding the Statue of Liberty in a mirror image to Gwen's fall and death in Andrew's 2014 film, and all our hearts dropped. Tom leaps down in an attempt to catch her, but he gets swiped away by Goblin, and MJ continues her hopeless crash to the ground. However, Andrew sees her and dives. Having learnt from Gwen's death, he propels himself further, and instead of trying to web to her, he goes that extra bit and catches MJ in his arms, avoiding the whiplash from the web that actually killed Gwen, and they land safely. Finally having his redemption, Andrew breaks down into tears. This is such a brilliant scene, a nearly decade-long payoff for Andrew's Peter, who finally has made up for Gwen's death. It also goes to show how much he relived that fateful mistake, and how it tormented him, as he knew what to do and how to do it instantly. A sign he was playing that moment back in his head for years.
Can Spider-Man come out to play?
Another scene from the third act, the climactic showdown between Norman and Peter, is incredible. Goblin goads Peter their entire fight, and the most memorable line of the entire film for me is Goblin's response here.
Too weak to send me home to die. No, I just want to kill you myself. Attaboy.
Bone chilling. Peter is no longer holding back, and the blows are vicious. This is perfectly shown by Goblin's lack of laughter at the end of the fight compared to his seeming enjoyment the entire film. Having beaten him, Peter picks up Goblin's glider and is ready to impale him, an act that would revoke his hero title in our eyes, just like John Walker did with Cap's shield. A perfect motif as a contrast between John Walker and the forever righteous Cap, the two sides of a superhero, and Spidey and Goblin's battle takes place on the fallen giant Captain America shield. Which side will Peter choose? However, before he can kill Goblin, Toby appears and captures the glide, refusing to let Tom take Norman's life and see an innocent man die in his battle against the evil Green Goblin, just like he had to nearly 2 decades ago. Yet Goblin still isn't done, and he stabs Toby in the back as he's holding the glider. Tom leaps into the air, and we wait in suspense to see Tom's action. Thankfully, Toby got through to him, and he catches the cure, and with one final laugh, he kills the Green Goblin, freeing a distraught Norman Osborn, who can only imagine the pain he has caused. I don't care how spoiled it is. The adrenaline rush when Andrew entered the universe through Ned's portal, followed by Toby, makes it one of the most enjoyable scenes ever. There are also hilarious bits of the scene, and the two Peters shooting webs in exactly the same way at each other is just amazing. On top of that, when they find a distraught Tom, their messages are so powerful as they share their experience as the web slinger, and the way they both recognise with great power comes great responsibility as a precursor to the death of a loved one is striking, and what ultimately keeps Tom going in the film as he realises he actually isn't alone. This is the catalyst for the entire second half. It is simultaneously by far the most enjoyable and the scene with the most fan service, and one of the most important for furthering the plot and keeping the narrative flowing. Aunt May's death is the best scene of the entire film. The scene truly starts when Norman slips into the goblin voice, triggering Peter's spidey sense, and he immediately calls out for May. He is able to sense that with the emergence of the ultimate villain that is the Green Goblin, May's life may be in danger. One of the best parts of the sequence is Dafoe's seamless transition into the alter ego, and the monologue following that convinces the other villains to turn on Peter is so captivating. As he and Spidey fight through the building, his power is on full display as he quickly takes the upper hand, and his true insanity is also shown as with every vicious blow from the web-slinger, he simply laughs it off. His enjoyment through the maniacal laughter is terrifying. When they crash onto the bottom floor in front of May, Tom brilliantly captures the emotions of Peter as he attempts to call out for May not to save him, but feels helpless and trapped. Trying to protect her nephew, May valiantly stands in between Norman and Peter, but then Goblin's glider slams into her, drawing gasps from the audience. As Norman mounts it, he looks truly terrifying, and he hurls a pumpkin which Peter only just manages to slightly divert. As they lie injured, May assures the audience she's fine, before delivering the timeless line to Peter, this time in the actual comic book wording, different from the previous films, of with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Peter feels the severity of her wound, and tries to comfort her as her eyes slowly close, drawing actual tears from people sitting behind me. This is so powerful on so many levels. It kills off a beloved character so unexpectedly, and is one of the most striking death scenes in a superhero film ever. It also flips Norman from the helpless old man to the embodiment of evil. No matter what we thought of him, he is now a pure villain. Most importantly, it is not just a heartbreaking scene. Peter feels responsible. This will haunt him forever, as in his eyes, he battled against Doctor Strange for this to happen. This is the lowest emotional trough of any MCU character. It causes the rest of the film and probable series of the MCU, drives the entirety of the plot, and truly affects Spidey, and therefore resonates with us so much.